Hello again, dear listener. Are you ready for another story? Then close your eyes, take a slow breath, and let's journey into the quiet places, the kind only God sees. Tonight's story is about a young boy named David. Not the famous king yet, not the giant slayer either, but a boy, a shepherd, alone with his sheep and his heart. This story asks a quiet question. Who are you when only God is watching? Let's begin. David lived on the edges of his family's land. While his older brothers worked in the house or went off to war, David had a different job. He watched over the sheep. Morning to night, and sometimes all through the darkness, David cared for them. He knew every lamb by name. He sang to them, talked to them, and protected them. No one saw what David did. Not his father, not his brothers, only God. And still, David gave his whole heart. He chased away wolves and lions. He rescued lambs trapped in thorns. He sat beneath the stars, playing his harp, writing songs no one else would hear. But God heard. One day, while David was out in the fields, a message arrived from home. "Come quickly," they said. "Samuel the prophet has come to our house." David, dusty and windblown, hurried back. When he arrived, he found Samuel, an old, wise man with eyes like fire and peace all at once. Samuel looked at David and smiled. "This is the one," he said. And there, in front of his surprised brothers, Samuel took a small horn of oil and anointed David's head. "You will be king one day," he said softly. David blinked. A king? Him? He had only been watching sheep. But you see, while the world looked for warriors, God had been watching the fields. God saw David's heart when no one else was looking, and that was enough. Years later, when David stood before a giant named Goliath, he didn't need armor, he didn't need applause. He remembered who he was in the quiet. A boy who had faced lions, a boy who had trusted God alone, a boy who had worshipped when no one watched. So, with a simple sling and 5 smooth stones, David stepped forward, not for fame, not for praise, but because he knew God was watching, and that was enough. Now, my friend, as you lay in bed tonight, with the world quiet around you, ask yourself the same question. Who are you when only God is watching? Are you kind even when no one sees? Do you sing softly in your heart when no one's listening? Do you choose what's right even when it's hard? Because those quiet choices matter. Those unseen moments build something strong inside you. And one day, when the world is watching, you'll already be ready, just like David. So rest now, little heart. Be still. God sees you, and He delights in who you are, even in the silence. Good night. Sleep well, and never forget, God is always watching with love.
Welcome back, little one. Tonight, we return to the quiet hills and hidden places where hearts are shaped and faith still grows when no one is watching. Do you remember David, the shepherd boy? The one God chose not because of his strength or size, but because of his heart. Tonight's story begins after the battle with Goliath, after the cheering, after the songs in the streets, after the crown was promised. But David wasn't king yet. No, In fact, the waiting had only just begun. David returned to the palace to serve King Saul. He played music for him, soothing the king's troubled mind. He fought battles for him, bravely, humbly, and the people loved him. But Saul grew jealous. The cheers that once made him proud now made him afraid. He saw David's kindness, his strength, his favor with God, and instead of celebrating him, he tried to harm him. David had to run, not because he had done something wrong, but because doing right had made him a target. He ran into the wilderness, into caves, into shadows where no one could see him. Once again, David was alone, just like before. But you see, the quiet places weren't punishment. They were preparation. One night, deep in a cave, David had a chance. King Saul had come in, unaware David was hiding in the darkness. And David's men whispered, "Now is your chance. You could end this. You could become king tonight." David crept forward. He held a blade in his hand, but he only cut a piece of Saul's robe. Then, his heart felt heavy. He whispered, "Far be it from me to harm the one God anointed." Even though Saul was unkind, even though David had been hurt and hunted, he chose honor. Not because anyone told him to, not because it would make him famous, not even because it was easy. He chose honor because of who he was when only God was watching. And God saw. David would spend many more nights hiding, many more days wondering when the promise would come true, but he kept trusting. He kept writing psalms, he kept choosing kindness, again and again. And when the time finally came, when Saul was gone and the people called for a king, David stepped forward, not as a boy, but as a man shaped by quiet choices. He had been faithful in the silence, and now he was ready to lead with wisdom. So now, as you drift toward sleep, remember David's cave. Remember the choice he made when no one else would have known. And ask yourself again, who are you when only God is watching? Because those small, hidden moments, they matter. They make you strong. They prepare you for things you don't yet see. And tonight, God sees you. He sees your heart. He sees the kindness you show when no one says thank you. He sees the courage it takes to do what's right in secret. And he is so pleased. Sleep well, beloved child. You are known. You are loved. And your quiet faith echoes into eternity. Good night.
Hello again, dear one. Are you tucked in? Tonight, we finish the story we've been gently unfolding. The story of a shepherd, a warrior, a king, and the quiet choices that shaped his soul. This is the final part of David's journey. A story not just of rising, but of falling and being lifted again. Because sometimes who you are when only God is watching isn't about perfection. It's about your heart. David was now king. The crown sat on his head, and the songs of Israel filled the air. He led armies. He built cities. He brought the Ark of God home, dancing in joy through the streets. But the quiet life of the fields felt far away. And one day, David forgot to guard his heart. It happened on a silent night, while his men were away at war. David remained in the palace. He walked on his rooftop and saw a woman bathing nearby. Her name was Bathsheba. She was married, but David, blinded by desire and power, sent for her. And in that moment, he chose what was wrong, not in public, but in private. No crowds were there, no songs were sung, but God was watching. And though David tried to cover what he'd done, God sent someone, a prophet named Nathan. Nathan told him a story about a rich man who took a poor man's only lamb. And David, filled with anger, cried, "That man should be punished." Then Nathan looked into his eyes and said, "You are that man." In that moment, David didn't make excuses. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He bowed his head and whispered, "I have sinned against the Lord." Later, in the stillness of his heart, David wrote a song, a psalm. You may have heard it before. "Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. Do not cast me away from your presence, but restore to me the joy of your salvation." David knew now more than ever that God didn't just want a perfect king. He wanted an honest heart. You see, my friend, David made mistakes, big ones, but he also came back to God again and again. And maybe that's what it really means to be a person after God's own heart. To come home, to tell the truth, to trust that God's love is bigger than our failure, even when no one sees but Him. So tonight, as your room grows quiet and your heart settles down to rest, remember David's whole story. The shepherd boy who sang to God in the fields, the young warrior who showed mercy in a cave, the king who fell and rose again because he returned to the one who never stopped watching with love. And as you drift into sleep, remember this too. God sees your heart, not just the strong parts, but the soft and messy ones too. And He loves you right now, just as you are. So sleep gently, beloved. You are not alone. You are seen, and you are still part of God's promise.
Hello again, little one. Welcome back to the quiet places, to the stories shaped not by loud victories, but by gentle choices in secret. Tonight, we meet a boy named Joseph, a dreamer, a brother, a prisoner, a man who stayed true when it felt like no one saw except God. And so, once again, we ask, who are you when only God is watching?